the question, why is a person poor? And they said lack of effort. You only had two choices, lack of effort or circumstances beyond control. Lack of effort. 56% of Republicans, 19% of Democrats. This is why a person poor. But the circumstances beyond your control, 32% Republicans and 71% of Democrats said that there's nothing that they could do. Well, how did we get to this place? We got to this place because the seculars answer to everything was just pouring government money at it. Government welfare, government schools, government housing, government wage laws, government jobs, government retirement, government health care. When you get to the place where somebody has to solve all of your problems, you lose confidence in yourself and your ability to solve some of your own problems. And all of this government has created an environment of more relativism, and that's what has taken over most of our urban and impoverished communities. Because lack of marriage equals lack of family. Lack of family equals lack of tradition. This is where we pass our values, is through our family. Lack of tradition equals lack of education. Without an education, you can lack a work ethic, and without a work ethic, you lose vision. You don't even know anymore to ask, why am I even here, and what it is that I'm to do. And it leaves behind the social pathologies that more of us should be thinking about. In particular, we should be thinking about it now to help fix our country. We have a president, we have 8 years, and then another 8 years with the vice president. So 16 years, we can start to look to reverse some of these trends to fix our country, because there's a determination that we're going to fix the country. And so I think we should start focusing on it, because when you have that one wheel turning in that car, when it's in the mud, and you got one wheel just keeps on turning, until you're sure of that car, no one's getting out of that mud. And so we need to ask ourselves these questions. And in fact, we've asked ourselves. But the first thing that I look at when I'm addressing an audience and want them to look at with me is, how did we get here? You know, we're trying to come up with solutions if we will not admit that we've made some mistakes along the way. And we need to ask ourselves, how did we get to the place that half of the country does not believe in our founding principles? 4 founding principles: eternal truth. Choice loses its meaning if it doesn't matter what you choose.
That's right.
Limited government. The role of government is to protect our interests, not to plunder us, not to exploit us, but to protect us. Free markets. How in the world does half the country not believe in capitalism? It's good. It's the engine for tomorrow. It's profit. Of course you want your boss to make a profit. How's he going to give you a raise if you have no money in the bank?
Absolutely.
Or as Paul Bashir, many become one. That's what this country is. American exceptionalism isn't some term to make people feel bad about themselves. American exceptionalism means that we were the exception to the rule. Because before America was founded, if you were born poor, you died poor. This country was the first in the history of the world that anyone from any circumstance, any ethnicity, didn't matter what happened in your past, whatever your fate was, didn't have to be your destiny. And this was in the history of the world. So there is an exceptionalism there. But we've slipped into now this concept of multiculturalism and diversity that is dividing us more than anything. Well, the reason that I think that we've gotten to this place where half the country doesn't believe in these supportive values anymore is because we began down a journey about 50 years ago where our founding principles were under attack. There were wars, actually 3 wars, and we got lost. As a country, we got lost. You know, people ask me about the history I just told you. My autobiography is called Pimps, Whores, and Welfare Brats, just to give you a glimpse into my past. And I left a lot of details out, too, because I wasn't sure about statutes of limitations. And I'm getting out of all of that, and God saved me up, and I got to go to jail the rest of my life. So some of that was in New Jersey. So every time I go to New Jersey, I kind of look like drugs. I don't care if it's in the middle of summer. Now with the DNA stuff that they can do, they might try to catch up with you. But we got lost. It's easy to get lost. I mean, you're students, and many of you know that every discipline, there are rules to govern those disciplines. There are rules, and that's why you're here. Yeah. There are rules. There's a science behind all art. There are rules to medicine and math. There are rules to engineering. There are rules to music. But when it comes to life, we didn't think we needed any rules. We would figure it out on our own. And so the country had a war on religion. We scrubbed our schools from all reference to God. And what happened is our public institutions were weakened. And it opened the door to this culture of meaninglessness. I mean, if nothing matters, then nothing matters. If I'm okay and you're okay, then what does anything matter? Yeah. And that's where we are in our culture. The second thing that happened during that same body of time in the 60s was a war on marriage through the feminist movement, and it weakened women. And it opened the door to this culture of materialism. Yeah. You know, when you look at what has happened, 2 generations of this reproductive rights movement, marriage has totally collapsed. I don't know if it was the intention of the feminists to say, well, why don't we just live alone and die alone? Little Fifi cannot call 911 when you're sick at 90 years old. Marriage is a social stabilizer. But now marriage has totally collapsed. Our marriage rates have dropped to from 75% of the adult population in the 70s to 45% today. For blacks, which is where we see a high concentration of many of these pathologies, is because marriage has been decimated. From the 70s, it has dropped in half the marriage rates, so only 30% of black adults are now married. And you couple that with a war on poverty that says, you don't have to worry about those circumstances, there's nothing, we have safety nets. You don't have to worry anymore about any kind of challenges in your life. But that war on poverty weakened family, and it opened the door to this culture of entitlements. Everything is due us now. We're all a bunch of victims. In fact, I lived on welfare. I can tell you the rules. They came down to three things: don't work, don't save, don't get married, and we'll keep you enslaved to a poverty plantation. And that's what we have today. And it's a challenge in many, many areas, as you'll see in a moment in some of the notes that I have for you. This whole concept of redistribution of wealth is just inconsistent with our founding. It's not going to work. No. It doesn't matter how much liberals try to move that thing around. It's the definition of insanity. You keep trying to make something happen that cannot happen because it's inconsistent with the founding principles. For one, freedom and personal responsibility. It's inconsistent with the scripture. For two, the scripture says don't covet. The socialism is rooted in covetousness. Somebody has something somebody else doesn't have, so now we go hire politicians to take it from them. It's theft. In fact, we were having that conversation as well. Well, what did the politicians do in Washington? A bunch of nothing? Go back and tell people, well, you can ask yourself, when's the last time your congressman had a bill go to the floor, get debated, move to the Senate, get argued through, and become law? It doesn't happen. No, that's not what they do there. I can tell you where they hang out. Where they go when they get fired too, when people finally fire them, they go to the Shelley's. They come out with $3 million deals with the lobbyists, and then they pass a law against themselves to not be able to lobby themselves for a year or so. So they go on a year vacation. The whole concept of redistribution of wealth is just not going to work for our country. But it's even more damaging than that, though. Wealth redistribution under the guise of social justice violates the very social structure that's needed for one to excel and to break the cycle of poverty. Because if you do not have a moral code of ethics and a rule of law, then you diminish yourselves as a society into what one social scientist called the tragedy of the commons. Nobody owns it, so nobody takes care of it. It's the tragedy of the commons. It's just common, and that's what government is, and or has become in its replacement of the church and community and taking care of the needs of those less fortunate. And today we have too many Americans now that are lost in moral relativism and government dependency. The nuclear family, in 1970, 40% of American households were headed by married couples with children. Okay, in 1970, 40% of American households were headed by married couples with children. Today that number is 18%. That's what the household situation looks like. Now, it's not as dire as it can sound because you don't count in or factor in that generation that married and had produced children, and then now their children are grown and gone. But it does factor in the youth who are not marrying at all. And this should be alarming to us, especially as we have so much of our social structure committed to, the civil society is committed to continuing to reproduce ourselves. Single family, though, we produce ourselves in healthy environments because a single family is in trouble as well. It's one thing if you say, well, I'm not going to get married, but and you also decide to live a celibate life. But that's not what's happening. People are not marrying, and they're continuing in all of the behaviors of sexuality. And so now in 1970, only 7% of American children live with a mother who had never married. Okay, in 1970, only 7% of American children lived with a mother who had never married. In 2014, that number was 48%. You can't fix it if you don't know why it's broken and how it got broken. Blacks, out of marriage rates, they moved from 22% in the 60s to 72% today. Whites moved from 3% in the 60s to 30% today, which is why now we're starting to see some of the social pathologies that we thought were confined to our hard-hit communities spilling out into the suburbs. And we're wondering, well, what's going on? Well, it wasn't ethnic in nature in the first place. We bought that lie too. And this has to do with how people structure their family to pass down traditions that have rules. that tell people what their behavior should be, and particularly the children. The Latinos, there was no data in the 60s. They weren't a special interest group to be politically exploited. So, but they are now, so we have data now. And their out-of-wedlock birth rates are 53%. Now, you might say it doesn't matter. And especially, I hear from libertarians all the time, the liberals try to make the other excuses. Well, this is because of something else. This is because of racism in our society. But the libertarians just try to say, well, who cares? It's just really none of our business. Well, I think that there are three reasons we should care, because as I already explained, the public square is where our lives touch. And if our lives are going to touch, then we should have a civil environment for them to touch in. And we then should have concerns that are in common. And there are three things that we should have concerns about in common. And the first one is child poverty. According to Ron Haskins of the Brookings Institution, in 2009, that was the most recent year of the economic collapse, the poverty rate for children that were in marital households was at 11%. But the poverty rate for children in single-headed households was 44.3%. So we should be concerned. We have 500,000 orphans in our foster system. And I have to ask my Christian audiences all the time, we don't have 500,000 Christians to go and clear out these orphanages? Because our foster system is in dire strait. And yet we think that we shouldn't care on how people are making choices in their lives regarding marriage related to the children. We have 1.2 million households that are living in our public housing units. The second societal reason we should care is crime. That's crime. Bookshelves are sagging with the research that demonstrate with crystal clear clarity. If another book is written again about the nature of men, we would have enough information to deeply understand that unmarried men are promiscuous men. And promiscuous men produce unproductive men. And unproductive men are dangerous men. Marriage is the social stabilizer. 70% of the youth in our criminal justice system come from single-headed households. You want to solve the criminal challenge? Then we need to rediscuss how in the world do we begin to reshape our society so people appreciate marriage again. It's disproportionate in ethnicity and black, and then Black Lives Matter wants us to focus on only that component. But at the end of the day, you get down into the data and you find out that it's not driven by race at all. It's driven by the marital status of the home that child came out of. 95% of the men in our federal prison system have no relationship with their dad. The third societal reason that we should care is because we have diminished morale at this point. The great society of secular statism has great costs, and there are economic costs and there are emotional costs. And it's taken a toll on us as neighbors. Family pitted against family, friend against friend, workplace against workers against each other. I mean, it's gotten so bad people can't even talk in public about just regular values and things that they believe. You know, my family, I started to not go to the family reunion anymore, but I decided not to go back because that's not fair to me. So every time they get to starting about what my this or my whatever, then I just tell you, look, I get paid to debate, so when I see your checkbook, I'll answer that question. The words are not around, so they don't bother me anymore. So you leave me alone. We can talk about the weather, or we can talk about fashion, but we're not talking about a George now Trump. The federal government takes 25% of the American economy. You want to know why there's so much tension? Because the haves have and the have-nots weren't. And they're saying something has gone terribly wrong, and we really need to fix it. We need to focus ourselves on why is it that there are people that feel that they can demand from others to take care of them. And now the public square has become a battleground, just constant tension. We're so divided, it's similar to the 1850s when Abraham Lincoln said, that's it, we can't do this anymore. We can't be half free and half slave. We're going to have to make a decision. We're going to be all one or all the other, but we can no longer be both. And that's where we are as a society. We are going to be biblical and free, or we're going to be secular and statist. And that's what the cultural war is about, and that's what we're battling. And how do you determine that? Through law. That's why a lot of people are very excited about some of the appointments that will come to courts. So that they will no longer be activist institutions, but judging the law according to what the Constitution intended. The economic cost, poverty is big business. You know, I talked about that wheel. Poverty is big business. I paid $24 trillion since the war started. The federal government spends $900 billion a year on these anti-poverty programs. And I don't think I'd be so upset if anyone could name one that's working.
Right.
Just one. I just want to know one. No, what's happened is of that $900 billion, less than 20 cents on a dollar actually reaches the household that we say we're trying to help.
Yep.
That's why the folks are still living in dire straits.
Right.
This is bureaucracy. The wealthiest communities in our country are right outside Washington, D.C.
That's for sure.
We've reached a dangerous mass of special interests who have too much stake in big government, whether they're employed by it, whether they're collecting benefits from it, or whether the business is getting favors from it. We have now more than 250,000 non-grocery store businesses on food stamps alone. When we're arguing the ag bill, which is where food stamps is, it's not the welfare mom showing up in Washington saying, don't touch my food stamp. No, it's the business community. It's Kraft Foods, because it's 10% of their bottom line, since we forced the welfare moms to buy cheese. It's McDonald's wanting to know how come they can't get the EBT swipe card, because they sell food. How does Walmart get to get? It's Walmart wanting to know, wait a minute, you're making us determine what's food and what's non-food product? Who's going to pay for all these computer systems? Oh, taxpayers. It's endless. The EBT swipe card itself, if you've never seen one, each state gets to make it as beautification as they want to, and so they usually put their little state bird on it, their little state flag on it. It looks better than the black card for American Express. And that's a lot of money into that. And that's all your money. In 1960, 20% of Americans got more from government than they put in. Today, 60% of Americans get more from government than they put in. It should seep into our entire society. And that $22 trillion that we're in debt, we better have a good plan. And a lot of us are very excited that the Republicans swept the country so that we can at least come up with alternative plans than what we've been doing, because the road that we've been on, we could cross the path of no return. Sometimes when I'm in California, I liken it to, if you've been to Southern California, you have your El Toro line where you have the 5 and the 405 meet. And if you're going north and you want to get over to Pomona and you happen to be going up to 405, I'm telling you, you only have one more opportunity when you get to that 10 to cut across. Otherwise, you're up here before you get to go back. That's not a good ride back. And so we have to turn the ship around and turn it around as quickly as we can before we go over the cliff. Yeah. They're talking about, we want to send grandma over the cliff. No, it's these unfunded liabilities of these Ponzi schemes that we have going on that are in $100 trillion now. We have 15,000 baby boomers turning 65 years old every day. The clock is ticking. And for students that say, well, we don't care, we don't have to reform Social Security, we kind of like that. No, it needs to be personalized, because it's set up where current workers pay for current retirees. And unfortunately for us as a society, through the feminist movement, women were convinced that children were environmental hazards, so don't have too many. So grandma had 9, mama had 5, I had 2, lost one of those. That happened all over the country. That pyramid is upside down. And to take 68 million out through abortion, 68 million in 44 years, that should give us all a great cause. And tickets, Planned Parenthood is selling off baby parts. And Gosnell storing them on shelves as souvenirs. Imagine the emotional state of those women that went in there and solved that. Now, these processes have to be reformed and quickly. And for people that all would know that's what euthanasia is about, are you serious? We're baby boomers. We're in the gym. And most of us are in right and carry states now. So you're not going to kill us off. We're living longer. We've got to reform it.
That's right.
The emotional cost, we're just not free anymore. That's the economic cost. The emotional cost is we're just not free. We're not free people when judges get to redefine truth. No. We're just not free. We pretend we're free. We're not free. In fact, if you look at all of the indexes of economic freedom and just general freedom, America's falling every year. And when Bush was in town, he used to remind us, we're only 5% of the whole world. I don't know if there's something he was just figuring out himself, or did he actually know that as a fact, saying, hey guys, we're only 5% of the whole. Yeah. And there are other people that will replace us if they can. You just stay on top and say, oh, that's it. Everybody that's in sports especially, you better stay on top, and in order to stay on top, you have to constantly work. We're just not free anymore when a politician can pass laws that have bureaucrats segment us into these special interest groups. We're in the court over transgender stuff. All sexual behavior is adult behavior. It should be private. This is not something that I should have to explain to my 5-year-old granddaughter about. Nor is it something that where grown dads have to take their 15-year-old daughters in the restroom at dinner. Because what